Everyone got a target on their backs.
You're back in the game with Meech?
Meech and I are businessmen.
And you both gonna end up dead or in jail.
Meech and I got history, but I'm done living in the past.
We your only lifeline.
Ain't sound Lamar yet?
You're gonna have to come at him an angle he's not gonna expect.
We got a big problem.
After Lamar approached Lucille with the intention to hurt the Flannerys, I think we can all assume Meech and Terry will want revenge, which is evident in episode 6's trailer. We see Terry and Meech geared up for war, and Meech will be linking up with the PA boys to try and end Lamar, but he's on a warpath himself, and if anybody gets in his way, they'd better hope Lamar doesn't start singing, because that's when we all know it's game over. But the war will only be a small part of episode 6, which looks explosive in every single possible way, from Batman vs Joker to B. Mickey and Brian, who has his own issues with Jin questioning his secrets. But is this finally the moment B. Mickey working for Detective Brian is revealed? We all know how they love to manipulate these trailers, but at some point, this definitely has to be a big reveal, and then Meech will have a decision to make because snitches need to be dealt with, and with death being an inevitable consequence of snitching, and just the game in general, we're going to be witnessing plenty under threat in episode 6. So we're going to run through all things BMF season 2, episode 6, but before we do, I do have to give everybody the heads up, which is we are now in a mid-season break, so there won't be any BMF next week. It will be returning on February the 17th. Now the title for episode 6 is Homecoming, as we're going to see Meech and Terry return to Detroit from Atlanta with product and a new technique to flood the streets with BMF product. Meech links up with Sterling and the PBA boys to continue his quest to kill Lamar. So the BMF is back in the game after this drug drought. They managed to source product from Ty, but we don't know whether they'll continue working with Ty or potentially reignite their business relationship with K9. K9 himself, he's got problems of his own, as he's the main man on the investigation board, so that's just another thing to keep in mind. Law enforcement have turned their attentions to K9 after the failed attempts to catch Meech and Terry, but Brian will definitely take this personally after he finds out they're back in town. He's definitely going to be gunning for them, but that's something I'm going to come to later. So with Meech and Terry getting back in the game, their pockets are looking flush, but this is going to cause conflict with Charles and Wanda. Despite Charles telling Terry and Meech to look out for each other when they fled to Detroit, he's never been a big fan of Terry being in the streets with his brother. He'd lost all hope for Meech very early, but he thought he could keep Terry on the straight and narrow, and so did Wanda. Let's not forget about the plan Lucille and Wanda hatched to try and force Terry to make a choice, the game or his family, and initially he did pick his family and the car ride service, but as he tells both Wanda and Charles, him and Meech are businessmen. Now Charles gives him a stark reminder of the consequences if they continue. They're both gonna end up dead or in jail, which eventually did turn out to be true. Both ended up in jail, with Big Meech still having a few years left on his prison term. We're also gonna see them standing in front of a crime scene which has been locked off by law enforcement, with all of them looking as if they've just lost someone close to them, potentially at the hands of Lamar, and they're lucky it wasn't Lucille. I was actually very fearful of Lucille's life, because there is no way of telling what Lamar will do or who he's gonna harm. For example, if we were to take it back to season 1, when Meech took Zoe, if Lamar really wanted to save Zoe, then he would have easily have given Meech his weight back, but he didn't. He wanted to be king of the streets more than he wanted to protect his family. This is who Meech is up against. So far we've seen what he's done to Flamel, Tiny, Darius, Nido, and his own boy Slick. So we're gonna see Lamar doing standard Lamar things in episode 6, and no doubt, probably catching another body or two, because Alvin will warn him the Flannery brothers are out on the streets and they're sending a clear message, and it doesn't look like Meech and Terry are playing games, especially after Lucille was under threat. Now they are going to have to tread very carefully, and they're going to have to attack Lamar with a different approach, one which he doesn't expect. At least that's what Monique believes, because they all have targets on their backs. So what's one of Lamar's weaknesses that we know of? Monique and Zoe, but there is no chance in hell they'd put Zoe at risk. But Monique is one way they could definitely get Lamar to drop his guard.
Ain't no fun if a king ain't got his queen, though.
So every king needs a queen, and he's still trying to recover this relationship that will just never be. But we're gonna see Lamar and Monique coming face to face. Whether this is a part of their plan to attack him in any way he doesn't expect, let's wait and see. But Lamar is locked and loaded with his shotgun again, and it's gonna be all guns blazing for him in pursuit of Meech. And I do get the feeling something has to give in this war. Where it gets confusing is that all 3 real life characters remain alive till this day. But if we as the audience sat here watching this without knowing their backstories of these characters, then I'm sure we'd all be saying Lamar needs to go. Whether that happens, again, I do think something has to give, because Lamar won't stop until Meech is 6 feet deep, and vice versa.
As God is my witness, and the devil is my hand, I ain't leaving this earth till I body Meech.
Now, moving on to Detective Jin and Brian. We know Jin isn't afraid to stick it to Detective Brian and shut him down, because we saw yet another example of it in episode 5. This time she questions him about him hiding something, and he did promise to be honest and transparent, something which he wasn't with his previous partner, but he's hiding something again. Whether she's talking about him working with B Mickey, who knows, but we are going to see Detective Brian coming back to get something from B, and that's because Meech and Terry are back in town, but he's also turned his attention to B, because his attempts to strong-arm Denise definitely failed, because Meech got Monique to Denise just in time before she could snitch, and so it seems like she's staying strong and doing her time. On the other hand, B Mickey is in big trouble, because he does tell Brian that even though him and Meech have history, he's done living in the past. And what's brought this change of tune? So far in season 2, B Mickey's been forced into providing information, but like I said, more so because he's been forced. But now it seems like he's done with Meech, and I can only think of one thing: Terry being back in the game and taking his spot in the BMF. We all saw B Mickey's face in episode 4, when Terry started making decisions without B's say so, and the fact he doesn't get this level of respect he feels he should be Meech's number 2 will definitely play a part in B's decision to work with Brian. We hear Brian tell B Mickey there is only lifeline, but we all know how this game works. Once Terry and Meech find out what B Mickey's been up to, it's game over for him. He's gonna end up 6 feet deep right next to his boo. Ironically what he killed her for. So is this finally the moment where Meech finds out about B Mickey working for Detective Brian? Because this does look like a very intense stare down between B Mickey and Meech, but who knows, because as I mentioned before, they do love to manipulate these trailers into making us think one thing, but throwing us with a complete curveball. Now we also do see Jin and Brian raiding the BMF spot. Whether B's played a role in this after he moves down the pecking order, I wouldn't be surprised. So time is ticking for B Mickey and his secret, so sooner or later, Meech will definitely find out. But that's a breakdown of episode 6's trailer, one which seems to be an explosive one, which will involve death and violence, with Lamar and Meech going head to head. So will they stick to the original story, and will Lamar remain alive, or does he have to go? In my opinion, Lamar is a big problem that Meech needs to take care of. Is this also the episode where B Mickey's role under Detective Brian is finally revealed? And could we see other secrets like Terry's relationship with Markeisha come to light, which would not only cause problems with Wanda, but also Boom? I do think that's another thing we may need to consider over the next few episodes, but drop all your thoughts down below on all things BMF Season 2 Episode 6. And of course, if you are new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything BMF and Power Universe related. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.